The last outing for the FIA GTs was at Hockenheim, and Mercedes-Benz made it 3 out of 3, with Bernd Schneider and Mark Webber leading home a Stuttgart 1-2 in the new lightweight V8 car. For Porsche, the weekend was a nightmare. This was Uwe Altson's accident when he was going for third place. Happily, he was unhurt, but all the works Porsches hit trouble, although Alan McNish salvaged a single point by finishing 6th. Here in France, on the twisty little Dijon circuit, the Mercedes have again qualified at the front, with championship leaders Schneider and Webber just ahead of teammates Ludwig and Zonta. But Uwe Altson and Jörg Müller are third quickest in their Porsche, with Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas 5th. And the thunderous Paynos of David Brabham and Eric Bernard is on row 4, hoping to repeat its podium at Hockenheim. So the two silver Mercedes lead the rolling grid round to the start line, with Altson's Porsche and the blue Persson Mercedes of Christophe Bouchou on row 2, and they're away. Schneider immediately going into the lead. Schneider ahead of Ludwig as they go down to the first corner. It's Christophe Bouchou in third place in the blue Mercedes. Then it's Uwe Altson, Yannick Dalmas, Gounod in the second blue Mercedes, and the Paynos is up there in 7th place. That's Eric Bernard, but through the sweeps behind the pits and this wonderful little Dijon circuit, it's the two silver arrows in front. Schneider from Ludwig, Bouchou, Mercedes 1, 2, 3, then the two Porsches of Altson and Dalmas, and the rest of the field strung out as they come into the tight uphill hairpin. Jean-Marc Gounod in 6th place in the second of the two blue Mercedes. Then it's Eric Bernard in the silver Paynos, and behind him, battling for 8th place, the two green Porsches. They're side by side as they come down the hill. Sandy Grau shutting out Michael Bartels and holding on to his 8th place. It's only the first lap, but they're already battling very close indeed. There are the two white and blue Vipers in 1st and 2nd place in the important GT2 category. Remember this, like all the rounds of the FIA GT Championship, 2 races in 1 for the GT1 cars and the GT2s, which are much more in production trim. Mercedes, Mercedes, Mercedes and Porsche complete the first lap, with already Bernd Schneider pulling out. The silver car with the yellow mirrors is Bernd Schneider's leading Mercedes, and look at this lead he's got already on the 2nd lap. Schneider absolutely charging, building up a huge cushion over the pursuit, while his teammate Ludwig keeps the rest of them back. We've already got a customer in the pits. That's Bruno Eichmann's GT2 911 Porsche. They're topping it up with fuel, but I don't think that's why it came in. It must have some sort of problem as we look at the red mirrored number 2 Mercedes in 2nd place. That's Klaus Ludwig, with Christophe Bouchou in the blue car in 3rd place, and the Porsches behind him with Uwe Altson leading Yannick Dalmas, and the Paynos already on their tail. The Paynos up to 6th place. Jean-Marc Gounod has yielded 6th place to the silver front-engined American Paynos. There the two Porsches, Uwe Altson, the car with the yellow splashes on the front, and the red splashes are on the front of its teammate, driven by the Frenchman Yannick Dalmas. That's the car that will be shared later in the race by Alan McNish, the Le Mans winning Scot, who is very much at the sharp end of this works Porsche team. Yet to have any real success in the FIA GT Championship rounds, however. There's the Paynos, front engine, big pushrod V8 American engine, almost a vintage car in this exotic company. But Eric Bernard really pushing on, going round the outside of one of the little 911 Porsches there, and closing on the cars in front, charging along in that grumbling, thunderous Paynos. And Uwe Altson trying to go round the outside of the back marker. Bouchou is being overwhelmed by the two Porsches. Look at Dalmas going through on the outside. Dalmas has made up 2 places, and they're so close as they cross the start-finish line, but in all of that, Yannick Dalmas has gone ahead of Bouchou's Porsche, and Altson has been pushed to the back of that little group, and he's now being pushed by the Paynos. A tremendous 4-car battle going on there for 3rd place. The man who's got 3rd place now is Yannick Dalmas. Bouchou is 4th. In 5th place, it's Uwe Altzen, and the Paynos is 6th, but pushing Altzen very hard indeed. It's very twisty, it's narrow, we're seeing it again. Altzen pushed right off to the side of the road, and as he does so, Yannick Dalmas takes an opportunist move down the right-hand side of the road and finds himself in 3rd place. Still the two silver Mercedes, 1st and 2nd, Schneider leading Ludwig, Dalmas's Porsche now 3rd, Bouchou's blue Mercedes 4th, Uwe Altzen in 5th place, there's Bouchou in 4th, behind him Altzen and Bernard in the Paynos, and then in 7th place it's Jean-Marc Gounon in the 2nd of the two blue Mercedes, with Sandy Grau in 8th place in the green Zakspeed Porsche. There is the Zakspeed Porsche using Pirelli tyres, incidentally. The Zakspeed cars run on Pirellis, the Works Porsches run on Michelins, and they seem to have the edge. As we look now at the Paynos ahead of Altzen. Uwe Altzen has lost a further place because the Paynos has passed the Works Porsche and is now breathing down the neck of Christophe Bouchou. There is Bouchou, there is the Paynos now in 5th place, with Uwe Altzen behind in 6th. As the brake lights go on, they queue up behind one of the little GT2 Porsches. It's very tight and twisty around this circuit at Dijon, and you have to pick your way past the cars. And look at Bernard going one side then the other as he tries to get past that little GT2 Porsche. He does so eventually, almost giving Uwe Altzen a chance to get his 5th place back, but Bernard was quick enough to shut the door. And as they go away up the hill again through that long left-hander, we ride now with Klaus Ludwig in the 2nd placed car, and he too is having his troubles with the traffic. Klaus Ludwig in the 2nd place Mercedes, weaving his way through these 911s, which are themselves working as hard as they can. The man in front with locking brakes and opposite lock before he moves away to the left of the track, and Klaus Ludwig is able to go through the right-hander over the brow and on now to the start-finish straight to complete another lap. That's Ludwig in 2nd place. Both Ludwig and Schneider, the leader, using the latest V8 lightweight CLK Mercedes, as opposed to the heavier earlier cars, the blue Person cars, which use the big V12 engine. And we've got the 4th placed Person blue V12 Mercedes coming into the pit lane now. That's Christophe Bouchou coming in for his first routine stop, and his co-driver Bernd Mailander ready, but I don't think he's going to get into the other blue one here as well, because in now has come Jean-Marc Gounon as well, both the blue Mercedes in at once. A lot of work going on in the Person pit. Marcel Thiemann also not taking over. There's the Marcos running in 3rd place in GT1 behind the two Vipers, with the Paynos about to gobble it up. Two big front-engine V8s, the GT2 Marcos, the GT1 Paynos, and the Paynos goes past the multicoloured Marcos as into the pits now comes the lead Viper. The leading GT1 Viper is in the pit lane. Olivier Beretta has just brought that car in. He and his co-driver Pedro Lamy have been dominating GT1 this year. There's Beretta out, and Pedro Lamy, the Portuguese, squeezes himself in over those big protective tubes at the side of the Viper's cockpit, and we see a GT1 Porsche gobbling up a GT2. That is the Uwe Altzen car, and you get some idea of the difference of speed between these two cars, both of them rear engine. One you can buy in a showroom, one you certainly can't. And Eric Bernard brings the Paynos in for its routine stop. David Brabham will be waiting, and we've got the leader in, Bernd Schneider. Bernd Schneider staying in the cockpit. They're refueling. Now, they're not allowed to start on the tyres until they finish the refueling. That's what the rules say. So as soon as the refueling is finished, then the mechanics by the wheels can start undoing the wheels and getting the fresh rubber on. The fuel's still going in, and in now we've got Uwe Altzen's car. Uwe Altzen being refueled as well, and Jörg Muller getting into that car. And so all of that means that Klaus Ludwig in the silver Mercedes with the red mirrors is now in the lead. He has yet to make his first pit stop, as Bernd Schneider's car is almost completed down here in the pits. Klaus Ludwig on his way, and Yannick Dalmas is not far behind him in 2nd place in the Porsche. Headlights blazing, the Mercedes and the Porsche go through. Off the jacks now comes Bernd Schneider's car. It's got its fresh rubber. Bernd Schneider has stayed aboard. Mark Webber doesn't get to work in the cockpit yet, and out of the pit lane comes Bernd Schneider, the current leader in the FIA GT Championship. Behind him out comes Jörg Müller in the Uwe Altsen Porsche as well, but we've got Ludwig's Mercedes now leading, Yannick Dalmas's Porsche in second place by virtue of the fact that neither of them have yet made their first routine stop. There, with the yellow mirrors, is Bernd Schneider. And Schneider, now with fresh rubber and fresh fuel aboard, can settle down to his second stint and really start motoring to rebuild the lead. That, oh, a little twitch there from Schneider on his new tyres, which perhaps aren't quite up to operating temperature yet. There's the Chamberlain Viper, which Gary Ailes will be driving later in the race, and some running repairs to one of the GT2 Porsches. That's the Neugarten car, which seems to have some problems underneath, a loose under tray perhaps. And Klaus Ludwig in the pit lane. We ride with Klaus Ludwig as he brings the leading number 2 Mercedes into this narrow pit lane, and he's got to go all the way down to the far end of it, which is where the Mercedes pit is. There'll be a mechanic waiting with the board to show him where he's got to go. There is the mechanic with the board. He's going to swing in to park the car there. He does so. He's got to stop on his point. Bonk, yes he does. He's stopped, and now the car is being refueled already. They're cleaning the windscreen. The other mechanics are ready with the tyres, but they mustn't start changing them yet. And in gets Ricardo Zonta. So Ricardo Zonta takes over from Klaus Ludwig, who helps him with his seat belts. The fuel now almost completed, and the door is shut. Interesting that they have changed drivers, although Schneider is doing a double stint, and still the fuel being finished. A lot of fuel. Now the fuel is finished, they're going to change the tyres. They're not going to change the tyres. They've started the car up. It's gone straight out without a tyre change. Schneider didn't change drivers, did change rubber. Ludwig did change drivers, didn't change rubber. So differing strategies between the two Silver Arrows. We watch Jörg Müller in the number 8 Porsche. Jörg Müller settling into his first stint. Very rapid Formula 3000 driver in previous seasons. A very quick German is Jörg Müller. And we've got the number 7 Porsche in the pit lane. After a brief moment of glory, Yannick Dalmas has been leading this race because he's the last one of the front runners to stop. Yannick Dalmas has the door open. Dalmas getting out, and Alan McNish ready to clamber aboard. Alan McNish, the Le Mans winner, waiting to get into that number 7 Porsche. But meanwhile, all of those stops have, of course, put this car, the silver Mercedes with the yellow mirrors, back into the lead. Bernd Schneider on his second stint. The car nodding as it goes over the bumps under braking here at Dijon and goes sweeping through the long downhill S-bend section that follows the start-finish straight. Bernd Schneider, lots of fuel on board, a fresh set of tyres, and he's absolutely flying. He's got the lead back, and the amazing thing is Schneider's confidence and commitment through these back markers. Now he's got a couple of 911s in front of him, and those 911s are having their own little battle. I don't know if they know the leader is behind them. They're side by side, and Schneider just goes off the circuit to the right, squirts with the great power of the V8 Mercedes past them, and the two Porsches carry on with their little battle as though absolutely nothing had happened. So Mercedes 1-2 here at Dijon. Schneider leads from Zonta, but Alan McNish in that Porsche is in third place. He's looking good. They're still battling away at Dijon. This is the fight for 7th place between Jean-Marc Gounod's Mercedes and Armin Harner in the green Zaxby Porsche, which was started in this race by Michael Bartels. And the Mercedes doesn't seem to be particularly happy in the handling department. And look at the Porsche going right over the curbs in Armin Harner's efforts to get to grapple with the big V12 Mercedes. They've got some back markers in front of them, and this may give Armin Harner his chance. Headlights ablaze. The two GT1 cars come over the brow, and Armin Harner tucked in behind the blue Mercedes. They're coming over the start-finish line now. Harner has a little look at the inside, and Gounod moves across to keep the door shut. Harner almost pushed right off the road there as the two of them lap one of the GT1 Porsche 911s, and still the Mercedes leads down the hill. More traffic ahead of them. The French privately owned McLaren keeps well over to the right of the road as the two of them go through, and one of the little 911s being almost swept off the track completely as the Paynos now catches up with them. This is David Brabham in the silver Paynos. He's taken over from Eric Bernard, and he is a lap ahead of the two two cars in front of him battling over 7th place, the Mercedes and the Porsche. The Pénos comes over the brow as a locked wheel there from Jean-Marc Gounon in the blue Mercedes shows that he's starting to feel the pressure from the Porsche behind him, and the Pénos getting closer. The Pénos running now in 5th place, and the two cars in front of him battling for 7th, and now the Porsche goes through on the inside. Surely, yes, he's done it. Bartels elbows through on the inside at last, instantly moves away as the Pénos now goes through, and Jean-Marc Gounon goes very, very wide, and the Pénos splits the battling two. Up into 7th place now goes Armin Hahne in the Zack-Speed Porsche, but Gounon is fighting back. Gounon tries to go through with the Pénos. That's an old trick. If the car in front of you is about to be lapped by a faster car, tuck in invisibly behind it and try and follow it through. But now the Mercedes has lost a bit of momentum, and as the Pénos goes ahead to gobble up Armin Hahne, so Gounon now has a problem from the privately entered French run 1997 GT1 Porsche, driven today by Bob Wallach, the great veteran of sports car racing from France. And Gounon now has to keep the door very firmly shut on the right-hand side of the road, because the lumbering GT1 1997 Porsche is absolutely alongside him as they come into the brow. Again, the Mercedes is on the inside, and Jean-Marc Gounon going wide, but even wider goes the GT1 Porsche, and that's given Jean-Marc Gounon just a little bit of breathing space, but I suspect not for very long. We see it again, Gounon coming down on the brakes, locks up a front wheel as he goes into that left-hander, then the Porsche locks up a front wheel too, and as the Mercedes slides wide, so the Porsche slides even wider and over the curves. Now this is Alan McNish, the number 7 Porsche, the GT1 98 Porsche of Alan McNish, currently in 3rd place behind the two Silver Arrows Mercedes, and Alan McNish doing an excellent job, very smooth, very determined through the back markers, and running in a strong 3rd place. He's got the Pénos ahead of him, about to be lapped, and we've got the leader in the pit lane, Bernd Schneider, bringing the number 1 Mercedes into the pit lane. He's done a double stint, so now surely he will hand over to his Australian co-driver Mark Webber. Yes, Mark Webber clambering. He's a tall figure and he squeezes into that car, helped by Bernd Schneider, who helps him with the seat belts. They're cleaning the windscreen, they're refueling the car, they are changing the tyres, so he gets his 3rd set of rubber in this race. Meanwhile, Ricardo Zonta goes by to take the number 2 Mercedes, temporarily anyway, into the lead, while Schneider and Webber await. Webber waiting to take that car back into the race. The front tyres are done, it's off the jacks, they started up, and away goes Mark Webber. Mark Webber goes back into the race. Now in 2nd place, no, now in 3rd place, because there's McNish. McNish having a big weave as he comes over the start-finish line, and out in 3rd place now comes the Mercedes with the yellow mirrors. That's Bernd Schneider. Alan McNish therefore splitting the two Silver Arrows at the moment. Of course, he has a pit stop to come soon. Behind him on the road, but actually a full lap down in 5th place, is David Brabham in the Pénos. So Alan McNish in 2nd place now. The Pénos, a little puff of flame from its exhaust pipe as David Brabham comes off the power, hits the brakes to go in that tight uphill right-hander. Now we're seeing a replay of Armin Hahne's moment. He's just come into the pit lane, locked up in the pit lane, and had an accident, crashing sideways into the barriers. I don't think he's done much damage to the car. I think he's going to be able to carry on, but that a bad mistake by Hahne. And here's McNish. McNish coming in. This is the 2nd routine stop for the number 7 Porsche. McNish will hand back over to Dalmas, briefly in 2nd place, but the car running securely in the top 3. And as McNish comes in, I can see the number 8 Porsche coming slowly towards the pit lane. Alan McNish leaps out of number 7. Yannick Dalmas is helped in. They're refueling the number 7 car, which seems to be perfectly healthy, but clunking in comes number 8, Jörg Müller at the wheel, and I would guess that that car's race is run. On goes the new rubber onto the Yannick Dalmas Alan McNish car, and when it gets back in the race, it should still have its 3rd place. Yes, it's fired up and away. Back into 3rd place goes Yannick Dalmas in the car he's sharing with Alan McNish, and pushed away is the number 8 car. And now we've got a problem for the leader. Schneider, the leading car, is going very slow. It's got a puncture. The rear left tyre is punctured. Now what happened here? The car has spun. Mark Webber going backwards off. Oh, and he hit the barrier too. Number 1, Mercedes, the leading car, has hit the barriers. It's got a punctured left rear tyre, and Mark Webber is nursing that car on a wheel rim all the way back, most of a lap, to get it back to the pits. It's now back in the pits. They're removing that damaged rear wheel. It comes off in 2 pieces, and Mark Webber sitting impatiently in the cockpit. Mercedes mechanics swarming all over the car. They've got a new left rear on it, but the rear bodywork is damaged, and I would think they're going to have to replace that as well. There's Bernd Schneider going up to open the door and have a quick word. No, he's just making sure the door's shut. He gave a little wave at Mark Webber through the window. There's the new rear bodywork ready to go on, but a lot of work going on to that car. It's lost the lead, and now the leader, therefore, is the sole surviving silver V8 Mercedes of Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. There he is with the red mirrors. Zonta in the lead, and that's promoted Yannick Dalmas and Alan McNish to second place. The Paynos is now in third place. The old-style V12 Mercedes, the pair of blue cars, are in 4th and 5th places, and the Zaxpeed Porsches 6th and 7th. Despite that moment for Armin Hahne's car, their car still in 6th place. And incidentally, the Vipers are still doing a grand job leading the GT1 category as we ride with Ricardo Zonta. His windscreen none too clean this late in the race. He's following the French GT1 Porsche ahead of him, one of the 2 Vipers, the Eureka Vipers, that have been dominating GT2 throughout this race. And interesting, Zonta is being very cautious through these back markers at the moment. He's not past the Viper even now. Now he goes alongside it and ahead of it. But Zonta has such a big lead over the McNish-Dalmas Porsche that this late in the race, the last thing he wants to do is to have a traffic accident. The Bernd Schneider car, incidentally, which Mark Webber had that spin with when a rear tyre went down, hasn't rejoined the race. They did a lot of work on the car in the pits, but it has now been withdrawn. So Ricardo Zonta has the responsibility of the Works Mercedes team entirely on his shoulders at the moment. There is the GT2 leading Viper. That's the car of Olivier Beretta and Pedro Lamy, and it looks clean and shiny and absolutely unsullied. It's just on a Sunday afternoon drive, and these 2 Vipers have been so fast and so reliable throughout this season in GT2. Big V10 8-litre engine under the bonnet of that car, but it's not that different from the Viper. There's the other one, the 2 of them going round together, not that different from the sort of car that you can drive to the shops and take to the supermarket. Zonta once more coming down the long straight, and once more being very cautious with the traffic. He's got a gaggle of 911 Porsches ahead of him, goes past one of them and then tucks in behind the next one as he starts his final lap. The Brazilian Ricardo Zonta, the reigning Formula 3000 champion, incidentally, who's made a tremendous start to a GT racing career with the Mercedes Works team, now on his final lap. Bernd Schneider out, and Ricardo Zonta and Klaus Ludwig, therefore, on their way to win this race in the sole surviving V8 Mercedes. His headlights still on, hoping that the 911s ahead of him are going to look in their mirrors as he goes steeply up the hill, squirts up the inside of one of them. Meanwhile, Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas in a magnificent second place in their Porsche. Dalmas in the car at the moment. That's going to be the best performance for the Works Porsche team so far this year in the FIA GT Championship, and indeed will be Alan McNish's first podium in this class. But of course, don't forget, he did get on the podium, on the top step of the podium, in the Le Mans 24-hour race this year. And so the final lap being reeled off by Ricardo Zonta. The checkered flag is waiting for him as he comes over the final brow, and there the checkered flag waves. Another Mercedes victory. Klaus Ludwig cheers him home. Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas finished second for Porsche, and a great third place for Paynos, for Eric Bernard and for David Brabham.
So here's confirmation of the result. Mercedes really starting to run away with things. Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas claim their best finish of the season. The Paynos again is third. The bad news for Bernd Schneider and Mark Webber is that their failure to finish hands the lead in the Drivers' Championship to today's winners Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. Next, the series moves on to Hungary.